We are now talking to former Orioles, Blue Jays, and Yankee pitcher Josh Towers. What's going on, Josh?
What's up, brother? How are you?
I'm good, man. I mean, I'm not retired like you and enjoying my retirement. I'm going to be 40, man. I mean, I'm looking at you. You're not too far, off my age, man. I mean, you're 45. Right. You're retired, enjoying life. What is it like being retired from baseball? What have you been doing since your retirement from baseball?
Well, listen, retirement is not all what it's cracked up to be. I don't know. Bored. I'm working, doing some stuff like you guys, man, doing some radio stuff out here in Vegas on sports gambling and some mortgage stuff and chasing kids and working in the golf game.
Gambling. I mean, how many times do we hear gambling? I mean, my ex-partner from 103.9, Eric Coleman from the New York Jets, he's now doing one of the bigger gambling shows on MSG here, Madison Square Garden. So he's enjoying it, even though he stinks at it, by the way. It's horrible. I don't know how he is in gambling or betting. So I guess everybody's an expert now, I guess.
I'll tell you what, bro, it seems like it. All of a sudden, we opened this out here. I say Brett Musburger and the boys opened this thing out here in Vegas a few years back, and it really just set the tone for the entire country. If it wasn't for VSiN, you wouldn't have sports gambling in every state. And now all of a sudden, because you do, and it's legal in most states, and now ESPN and everybody else has it, everybody's all of a sudden an expert on sports gambling. It's pretty funny.
As everybody knows, we are talking to former Orioles, Blue Jays, and Yankee pitcher Josh Towers.
So what has been the betting industry that you're into now? Like, are you surprised that it's grown as fast as it has, the way it has, and legalized in so many different states, almost all of them now? And what have those experiences been like?
I don't think so because, being out here in Vegas, we get to see it firsthand. And, everybody looked at it as a negative thing. Look at casinos as just a place where they just take your money. And they saw sports gambling as the same thing. No one ever it's just one of the things you label it at some point and then you never really address it. So you don't know what it really is. Out here, we know what it really is. And so when these guys opened VSiN, they created a show called My Guys in the Desert. And they took Brett Musburger, who's famous, broadcaster. And they took a guy named Vinny Maula who works behind the counter and makes the lines. He actually works for the books. And they put a guy like me, a former player, and another guy like a host like you guys. And it's like, hold on a second. Like, so you make the lines, but you're trying to tell us how to gamble and how to be successful. And you're not really just trying to rob us. And you guys are trying to inform us. And once they realized that it wasn't highway robbery, that there's a way to win and we're going to give you the information. It's fair. And we create all these opportunities for you guys to succeed, people started to be like, it's not really a bad thing. And now every state's involved, making money on taxes and loving every bit of it.
Well, you don't have to tell me. I mean, New York last month.
New York's always the last one.
But last month they made $120 million in the state of betting. The year, the month before that, it was $75 million. I mean, it's ridiculous money right now, sports betting. So why not
going to go away. So, why not legalize it and reap some of the rewards of the tax benefits, et cetera, right?
Yeah, we're not reaching.
I ask, you're a huge Yankee fan. I'm looking in the background of your boy, and he's got the Red Sox stadium, it looks like to me. Like,
I'm actually a Mets fan, though.
I purposely do that. You know why? Because we have a lot of Met fans that listen to this show, and they like to. And by the way, we have some Chicago fans that want to call the Yankees stankies. So what I do to piss off the Red Sox fans is, I make it where I have Fenway Park. It's a beautiful place, obviously. I've been to Fenway, but I like to stick it to the Red Sox fan, especially when the Yankees win, even though the Yankees didn't do so well in the wild card game.
Listen, I've been to that stadium many a time, and the only cool thing is that monster. The rest of that stadium's a dump.
I love that. We got to take that take. I'm going to send it all on social media. We are now talking to former Orioles, Blue Jays, and Yankee pitcher Josh Towers. So why don't we get into your career, Josh? We talk about 8 years in the major leagues, and being that you played in 8 years of baseball, which in the major league, it's not easy. I mean, people for years try to get up from the minors. Some people never even get a breath and step on a baseball field in the major leagues. What was it like having an 8-year career in the majors?
Pretty cool is probably the answer. It's everything you just said. Like, you don't know, man. You're out here playing baseball as an amateur. You don't know if you're going to get drafted, then you do. And they send you some podunk town and you start playing baseball and not really understand what's going on. You just know that you try to be successful and the ultimate goal is the big leagues. And then you start to learn the business as you climb up through the minor leagues. It's hard, dude. I'm going to be honest. I mean, every year we have a draft, we have studs all over the place. And I always say, like, I could write a book on all the reasons why guys do not make it to the big leagues. And it's not your talent. Your talent's rarely ever comes into play. There's so many different things. And that's why there's so many levels, because the major league game is so much more advanced than any amateur game that you ever watch. And so to be able to earn that opportunity to get to the big leagues, you're pretty stoked. And then realizing, damn, it's pretty hard to stay here. Pretty good players, because there's no level above it. So it's the pinnacle. So now you got to figure out how to stay here. And I'm in the AL East most of the time. I'm with the Orioles and Blue Jays. I'm facing guys like Derek Jeter and Bertie Williams a couple hundred times. It's like, how do I get them out 200 times in my career, et cetera, right? It's hard. So, it's everything you fantasize about, but then it just becomes a job.
The first moment you stepped on the field in your major league career, what were those emotions like?
Wow, man. It was like coming out of a video game, to be honest with you. Ben Grieve with Tampa was standing on second base, and I think Vinny Castilla was hitting. And when I went to the mound, Ripken was on the third base, and David Segui, I think, was at first, and whoever was handing me the ball, and it was 2 outs. And I remember as I was running on the field, as I run past Ben Grieve, I look up, and it looked like he was like 10 feet tall. I mean, it looked like I just came out of like I wasn't in reality. It was like I was coming out of a video game and nervous, man. And I threw one pitch, and Vinny Castilla, he tried to buggy whip me and popped up to first base foul, which was kind of cool. There was 2 outs. As that happened, we got the third out. I go sit down on the bench, and Cal Ripken puts his hand on my chest. My shirt's moving. You think you're going to be all right. He walks away, trying to ease the tension a little bit.
As everybody knows, we are talking to former Orioles, Blue Jays, and Yankee pitcher Josh Towers. And, it's funny that you say, it's like playing in a video game when you step on a field. And also, it's so hard to make it to the majors. But the same thing what you're doing as a broadcaster. Now the industry has become cutthroat. Everybody goes through, college. They're trying to get their foot in the door. And now everybody's doing a podcast. Everybody's doing this. And everybody's being an anchor and all that other stuff. So, obviously, after retirement, we'll get more into your baseball career. But after your retirement, what made you decide to do a podcast? I mean, it's not easy and not everybody could do it. So what kind of got you into it?
I've actually never podcasted. It's funny. I thought about podcasting like a decade ago. And it was like remember when it started, it was like a lot of hype, and then it just died. It just went away. It was like everybody's podcasting and no one did it. And then all of a sudden Joe Rogan made this famous, and now everybody in the world has a podcast. And it's actually pretty cool because of the platform with social media. You can put everything out there and you get to hear stories from your favorite people. So now podcasting is one of the dopest things. The broadcasting, the VEASAN stuff, I kind of just found it by accident. A friend of mine owns a restaurant here in Vegas, and he was having the grand opening. I met a guy who had made like a radio show like on the AM spot, and he was doing like an hour a week or something. And so he asked me to come in, and I did. And a guy that he had brought in works for VEASAN named Amal Shah. And Amal just loved the way I, went about my business talking. So he asked me to come in and do his show. And I did. I came in for 15 minutes doing one segment. And before I left, they offered me a job. So here we are.
One of our fans, Carl, has a question.
Carl, Mets fan?
No, Carl is a Cubs fan.
Okay.
Did you ever stay in the hotel outside the stadium in Toronto? He wants to know.
Oh, yeah, for sure. God, it makes it so much easier, too. Sometimes, like when you first get there and you don't have a place yet, or, when you're first there for the first time ever and you don't know where you're going to live, you just stay in that hotel. Dude, it's dope because you sometimes you get the room that actually looks at the field, which is kind of neat, but even though we're always down there, you're not watching any games, but you can take the back elevators, and we walk through a restaurant, you take the service elevator downstairs, so you don't ever have to go outside. Like I can be in the Sky Dome or the Rogers Center, whatever you want to call it. I can be in there, go to my hotel room, sleep, wake up, do all my work, play a game, and you'll never see me outside. It's pretty cool.
As everybody knows, we are talking to Orioles, Blue Jays, and Yankee pitcher, former Yankee pitcher, Josh Towers. Now, what was it like? And I know you weren't on you weren't in the game when 2009 when the Yankees won the World Series, but I know you got a ring. And what was it like? Just experience the winning a championship and just partying with all the other Yankees, and actually just the parades and just the craziness of winning a championship. That was the last time the Yankees won a championship.
Yeah, I didn't get all those luxuries, man. I knew when I got called up, I was with them almost the whole season in AAA, but when I got called up, I knew that it was like extra inning type stuff. I wasn't going to play too much. I remember asking Girardi too. I was like, Joe, am I going to play very much? And he goes, no, here's your deal. I was like, perfect. I wanted to live in New York City and Manhattan because I was like, if I'm only going to be here for a month and a half, 2 months, like I'm going to enjoy the city. So I knew my role, and I knew I wouldn't be on the playoff roster. You go back and look at that roster from 2009, and count the Hall of Famers, but we were just loaded with everybody we had. So right before the season ended, there was about 5 of us. They called in the office and said, hey, you guys are just not going to be here for the playoff roster. And we were all obviously okay with that. I know I was. So I watched the World Series from my couch like everybody else. But again, the cool thing is the Yankees are one of the best ran organizations in baseball. They get a bad rap for a lot of things, but as a player, when you get there, I was there, 5 days in AAA, and Brian Cashman came down and he asked me what I thought. And I was like, it was always fuck the Yankees, I'm an Oriole and Blue Jay. I go, so I never gave you guys any thought, it's like, it's always trying to beat you. I go, but you guys are like probably the best ran organization I've ever been in. And you just have a tremendous amount of respect for them. And by how it's ran, it just makes you want to be a better baseball player. It really does. And when I got called to the big leagues, which I didn't even go. He called my hotel room, by the way. This is the only time I've ever heard this happening in baseball, my whole tenure. Because it doesn't work like this. Like, you go to the field, your manager calls in the office, hey, you're going to the big leagues. You're pretty stoked. We pulled up to somewhere in Pennsylvania, and I get a call in my hotel room. And the game, I think, is it's like a 2:05 game or 4:05 or whatever it was. It was a day game. And this is like noonish. And I get a call in my hotel room, and it's Brian Cashman. And he goes, hey, we want you to come to the big leagues. It's going to be for a couple days, blah, blah, blah. There'll be a car there in a few minutes. And I was like, wait, why are you calling me? And he's like, well, I just thought I'd call. And I was like, you know what, man, I'm good. I go, call up Flacco. Flacco's doing well. He's pitching. He deserves it. He's never been in the big leagues, man. Like, he earned it. I go, I'm good. I'm in a good place. I don't need to go to the big leagues. And he goes, hey, do you know how much money it's going to cost you if you say no from here till opening day next year? And I said, yeah, I'm aware. And he goes, is your wife now? And I was like, not really in her business, is it? He goes, does she like writing that insurance check? And I was like, oh, you're cutting deep right now. And he goes, hold on a second. And I guess my agent had called through right at that time. So he comes back and he goes, that was your agent. He said to get in the damn car and get to New York. And I go, and I said, Bill, by the time I get there, it's going to be the 4th inning. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And he goes, no, it's just, we went 18 last night. If we have extra innings again, I'm going to need somebody I'm going to go, all right, fine. So I went to the big leagues, but I was like arguing with Brian Cashman about not wanting to go to the big leagues. I was in such a good place that year, which is crazy, dude. It's just crazy to think. I still to this day don't know why he called me and not had my manager reach out. I still don't understand that to this day, but it's just an amazing organization. And like I said, like, no one policed us. If I looked at a little scruff on you, I'd be like, yo, and you'd be like, oh yeah, and you'd run in and you never cared. You didn't say anything. Like, it's just the way it was. And so why they're always successful. People think that, the Yankees pay for everybody, but it's not the reality. And it's also why it's such a big thing that they haven't won since. And it is a big deal for the Yankees not to win in 13 years.